Welcome back to The Apologists and welcome to our classroom. We would first like to say that this is a university classroom. So, in a university, often we delve into questions and we analyze things from their roots and their origins. In this lesson today, we will be analyzing and studying and explaining what the meaning of the word hell was in the language of Jesus. Did he mean a burning fire as it is taught in the traditional ideal of hell, a burning fire where people burn eternally in the afterlife? Or did he mean something else? What we want to show in this lesson is that we have found that Jesus was talking about something else other than people burning in the afterlife in fire for their sins. He used the word Gehenna, which was interpreted by the translators as the word hell, the English word hell, in about the 1400s. So in order to find out what Jesus really meant, we have to go back to what Jesus actually said, the word Gehenna, and define it, and to define all the passages where Jesus used fire and words like that to find out whether or not Jesus really meant someone burning in hell or in fire forever.
Pre-reading guide to understand scriptures with the word hell in them. When reading passages in the Bible with words related to fire like hell, flame, fire, unquenchable fire, or words like them that mention fire or some kind of burning, a good rule of thumb for proper exegesis is to recognize that that word or phrase does not automatically mean the idea of hell as the Catholics who got the idea from Greek philosophy and mythology mean. They erroneously mean a literal fire that burns people for eternity. But to get the word's real meaning, the word has to be defined in the context of the passage where it is found. Therefore, it is necessary to know when these words are being used figuratively, symbolizing an idea like judgment, or purging, like in the unquenchable fire mentioned by John the Baptist when he described what the Messiah would do to the rejecting Jews, which he called the chaff, Matthew 3:12. Or the annihilation symbolized by the lake of fire in Rev 20:10, also like the discomfort in the flame that the rich man was in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, and the destructive judgment of God on the devil and his angels symbolized by eternal fire in Matthew 25:41. We have to know what those fires and burnings mean. And we have to know if it is actual fire like in 2 Peter 3:8-17. It is rather interesting to find that in none of the passages in the entire Bible that have any word related to fire, flames, burning in them mean an eternal fire that burns throughout eternity with people in it for punishment. As you will see as you engage in researching and finding out, that idea is not found anywhere in the scriptures. There are many passages that the 13th century translators put the word hell in, but none of them have the context of an eternal fire which burns people throughout eternity.
Our class text for this lesson in this course is Origins and Sources of the Hell Doctrine, written by Lawrence Brown, Ph.D.
Endless suffering of being in fire forever and ever when he used the word hell? One argument that is often set forth to defend the doctrine of endless eternal punishment in a lake of fire, hell, is the statement Jesus taught more about hell than he talked about any other topic in his teachings. Therefore, the logic goes, if Jesus is the main teacher of the hell idea, then it must be true, of course. Thence it is thought, let no man argue with Jesus, because if they do they might end up in hell for rebelling against God's plan of hell for the unsaved. Even though no apostle ever mentioned such a word as hell, they guessed that if the master teacher taught it, we could overlook the apostles' lack of discussion on it. They also overlooked the fact that it is taught nowhere in the entire Bible. They therefore have not checked to see if in fact that was really what Jesus was teaching. Therefore, we will search to see if Jesus really used the English word hell in his teachings, and if so, what was his intended meaning to his audience, the Jews, since all of his mentioning of it were to an exclusive audience that knew what he meant in the passages where the translators replaced the word Gehenna with the word hell in the original passages. These passages in this study are called the Gehenna passages. What was the idea of Gehenna hell in the teachings of Jesus? First, we will define and describe the concept of Gehenna and what it meant to the Jews, as Jesus discussed it. Gehenna is a valley outside of Jerusalem. In Jesus' time it had become to be known by the Jews as a place of the national judgment of God predicted upon the Jews if they would not repent. Often that judgment was described by God sending consuming fire. Jesus used it to mean a quick and destructive judgment. The fires that burned there represented consuming fires and were described by Jesus as to be unquenchable in the sense that they outlast whatever they consume burn up. Thus, what he meant was that the fire outlasted its victims. Therefore, the stay of the objects was short and quick. The landfill graveyard was a place for dumping trash also that would be burned up. As described by Isaiah 66:24 and Jesus Mark 9:48, the dead bodies that were thrown there were food for the worms' maggots, such that the maggots ate the dead bodies. This food kept the worms from dying out. The place where the worm never dies. It must be noted right away that the concept of Gehenna being a quick and destructive annihilation is consistent with the quick and destructive fire of Sodom and Gomorrah, where God used a quick but ending fire to consume those wicked cities. It is also consistent with the fire that shall burn up the earth mentioned by the Apostle Peter in 2 Peter 3. However, it in no way models a lingering torment of a living being in an eternal fire like it is meant in the hell theory. This valley earned it the name Tophet, a place to be spit on or abhorred. This valley may have become a gigantic pyre for burning corpses in the days of Hezekiah after God slew 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in a night and saved Jerusalem, Isa 30:31-33. 37:26. Jeremiah predicted that it would be filled to overflowing with Israelite corpses when God judged them for their sins, Just 7:31-33, 19:2-13. Josephus indicates that the same valley was heaped with dead bodies of the Jews following the Roman siege of Jerusalem about AD 69-70. Josiah desecrated the repugnant valley as part of his godly reform, 2 Kings 23:10. Long before the time of Jesus, the valley of Hinnom had become crusted over with connotations of whatever is condemned, useless, corrupt, and forever discarded. Edward William Fudge, The Fire That Consumes Houston, Providential Press, 1982, p. 160. From its historical background in the Old Testament and all of the things that went on there and the judgment of God that was associated with Gehenna, it was the icon for the coming fire of judgment on unrepented nations and people, especially Israel, in their then rebellious state, during Jesus' day. I suggest that to the Jews in Jesus' audience, Jesus' words referred merely to the valley southeast of Jerusalem. In their Old Testament background, Gehenna meant a place of burning, a valley where rebellious Jews had been slaughtered before and would be again if they didn't repent, as Malachi, John the Baptist, and Jesus urged them to do. Gehenna passages in the Bible. In this study we focus on the meaning of the word hell, Gehenna, as it was used by Jesus during his ministry as the last great prophet to the Jews that warned them of their coming doom right here on earth. The following is the list of Gehenna passages where Jesus referred to Gehenna judgment of the Jews on earth, not
Mark 9:43, Matthews 5:22, Matthews 5:29, Matthews 5:30, Matthews 10:28, Matthews 18:9, Matthews 10:28, Matthews 23:15, Matthews 23:33, Mark 9:47, Luke 12:5,